Hello, Cancer Rising. This is your 2022 astrological outlook. And so to begin, we will look at Mercury retrograde to start off the year from January 14th to February 3rd, 2022, and respectively, that Cancer is in your natal or solar 8th house. So, first we've got Mercury retrograde in Aquarius in your 8th house, then it will flip back into your natal or your solar 7th house. So what does this mean? First of all, Aquarius. What does that represent? It represents the technological, it represents genius, and it represents that which is humane, our humanity, brilliance, friendliness. Now, the 8th house is about depth. It is the ruler of Scorpio, and it is emotional. The 8th house deals with trusts, wills, intimacy, and any kind of big money, and definitely that which is connected to our deepest feelings, even spirituality and occult. So when you have Mercury retrograde from the 14th of January to the 3rd of February, first in your 8th house, right now you may feel very emotional and you want to communicate your most intimate feelings, Cancer rising, but you feel a little bit or may feel a little bit held back, especially since the 8th house is our deepest feelings. And with Mercury retrograde, you get a sense of frustration. In the other areas aforementioned, dealing with wills or trusts, and in some cases, certain legal matters dealing with such, there may also be some types of frustration. Also, the 8th house deals with beginnings and it deals with endings. So there may be a situation in your life right now where you are going to begin something of great importance or end something, or beginnings and endings in your life in general. And there may be delays and frustrations dealing with such. Now, once Mercury flips back into your 7th house of relationships, additionally, more important legal matters, dealing with court, sometimes contracts, definitely business negotiations, and all kinds of relationships, both romantic and personal, and the public, there's going to be certain delays and frustrations dealing with these type of issues. If you feel like there's a communication issue in your personal love or business partnership, relationship, don't worry, because the Mercury retrograde phase is rather brief. But also during any, and especially with you Cancer right now with retrograde Mercury in your 7th house, be careful of signing any contracts. Put it off until late February or March. Now, then we have Mars in Sagittarius, January 2022, and that will be in your natal 6th house of work. And Mars, Cancer rising, loves to be in Sagittarius because Mars rules Aries and Mars is in another fire sign of Sagittarius. So you will be imbued with much energy right now concerning your job. Maybe you're looking for work right now or a different type of employment, and so you will find that you have a lot of enthusiasm for your job search. Mars is connected with your work. It is connected with the mundane or daily in and out of life. And you will feel right now you have a certain zest for going after what you want at work. Maybe you're looking for a particular raise and you want to approach the boss. This would be the time. It could be that because sixth house also rules pets, you're looking into getting a new pet right now. But Mars is about action. And within the sixth house, it's also taking action regarding your health, your well-being, certain procedures. Maybe you're looking to start a diet. This is the time all those sixth house issues with Mars in the sixth house. Now, moving on, we've got Mars in Capricorn, and that will be in February, and Mars will be in Capricorn with Pluto. And so now we've got Mars in your seventh house of partnerships. And so anytime you see Mars, it's about assertion, it's about aggression. But now we've got Mars with Pluto, and both Mars and Pluto rule Scorpio. So when you see these two meet up, it's about intensity. So right now, Cancer rising, especially since there's an opposition with your ascendant, do be careful you don't come on too strong with regards to all partnerships. And again, that can be connected with business. Also, it can be legal matters. You may feel like you're feeling very feisty concerning any kind of legal contracts, courts, or any kind of negotiations. That can also be starting a business. But it's a time, Cancer rising, that you will have to just pull the reins back with any kind of over-the-top assertive behavior. Now, we've got Uranus, which turns direct on February 18th into Taurus, and that is your natal or your solar 11th house. What does this mean? Well, it is important, Cancer rising, because your 11th house is what you really want in life. It's your goals and your ambitions, what you really hold here, near, and dear to you. And it is about your friendships. So with now Uranus going direct in your 11th house of friendships, you're going to feel right now that your communication is very clear and open to your friends. If you were looking to get involved with some kind of a social group or organization, you won't feel as held back as you have been with Uranus retrograde prior. Now that Uranus is direct, you're going to feel free to express yourself with any social media groups, personally, online, etc. And the depositor of Uranus in Taurus is Venus. So you're going to feel like this is a time to discuss possible joint money or business adventures with groups and friends. So Uranus direct is very important during February and until it turns retrograde again. Take advantage of this time, Cancer rising. Now we've got Venus January 29th starting going into Capricorn. We've got this Capricorn thing going on here with the 7th house connection again, Cancer. But Venus is very sweet, although Venus in Capricorn, as mentioned with Mars, will join up with Pluto. So whether it's Mars or Venus, anything connected with Pluto in Capricorn, even if it is the moon, you have to pull back on the reins with regards to aggression. But the good thing with Pluto meeting up with anything, and in this case with Venus, is that you will be very serious and very intent and intense, depending on the house, and in this case 7th house, in getting things done or getting your way as far as your personal desires. And with the 7th house with Venus there, it sweetens the pot for you, which is very good. You will have a very charming, and with Pluto, very magnetic style, and people will sit up and listen to you. And right now with Venus there, you may get your desires. If you're in a legal matter, maybe you will win, or maybe certain love and business partnerships or agreements will go into your favor because you will sweeten your approach. You just want to soften that approach because of the connection with Pluto, with Venus in Capricorn. That will be there for the majority of, or half of February, starting on January 29th, 2022. Now we've got Jupiter in Pisces, which is wonderful, Cancer rising, because Jupiter in Pisces will make a trine to your Cancer ascendant. And depending on where your midheaven is, or your MC, which is the top part of your horoscope and the cusp of the 10th house, the highest part of your chart, you may have a Pisces rising, and if that, or excuse me, Pisces on the MC, Pisces on the midheaven. This is going to be a great time for you for your career efforts, and especially because both Pisces and Cancer are water sign, you will have a very soft-hearted, compassionate style that people will find very attractive. You will know how to put people at their ease. However, even with the midheaven possibly in Pisces in your personal birth chart, Cancer rising, Jupiter is in the 9th house. What is the 9th house? The 9th house, Cancer rising, is about anything dealing with foreign relations, anything dealing with long distance matters, long distance travel, or discussions, ruling such. Also rules higher education. So this year, Cancer rising, you may desire to go back to school or get some kind of education, whether it's on the job training or it's formal education. This is the time for you. You're going to have, because Jupiter rules abundance, many opportunities to get your education. It's a great time for you, Cancer rising, to voice your opinion, because with Jupiter at the top of your chart, your reputation will be stellar this year. You are just going to come across as somebody who is just so in the know, so ambitious, but with a light touch, being that this is Jupiter in Pisces. Now, moving along, we've got Mercury with Saturn mid-February. So that's Mercury with Saturn in Aquarius mid-February. Then Jupiter, the end of February to March 9th. Then we've got Mercury with Jupiter in Pisces. So Mercury with Saturn mid-February, and that's in Aquarius. So that's your 8th house. That's of intensity, and Mercury is ideas oriented, as is Aquarius. So you are going to be really doing some soul searching and write down some of those brilliant Cancer rising, yet Mercury in Aquarius with Saturn ideas, Cancer rising. Then it will move on to the connection with Pisces at the top of your chart. This is a very creative time for you, Cancer rising, and that will be also with Jupiter in Pisces. So Mercury and Jupiter in Pisces from the end of February till March 9th. Wow, what an inspirational time. Also, Jupiter with Pisces, since it used to be the old ruler of Pisces, is about medical. So you may think about getting into a medical career, or possibly doing something with the medical profession, and that can be esoteric or it can be traditional medicine. And what brilliant creative ideas right now to move forward with your career. Now, late February and into early March, we've got uh, we've got Venus with Pluto in Capricorn. So late February and March, we're discussing that aspect with Venus in Pluto. As aforementioned, it's a very sweet time for you to deal with the public, legal matters, and partnerships, but do pull back on the reins, Cancer ascendant. Now, Mars, Jupiter, and Neptune will conjunct in Pisces in mid-May. Now we've got the involvement with Mars, and Mars is very soft, as is Jupiter and especially Neptune in Pisces. But when you've got this Pisces connection with Mars, you are going to be very charming and in a very soft, aggressive manner right now, Cancer ascendant. So although Mercury, as aforementioned, is more about communication, Mars is taking action. So with Mars and Pisces, it's going to join up with Jupiter and Neptune. You're going to be more, especially with the trine to, you're going to be more sweet about getting what you want. And that's, again, this theme with the ninth house and education, dealing with anything long distance, foreign. And that's also with the ninth house rules contracts. So whatever negotiations you've got going right now dealing with these issues, you will be aggressive, but in a very soft spoken, sweet, kind, compassionate style. People are going to listen to you. And there's something about you, Cancer rising, that you will come across as so inspirational. People won't know that you are being aggressive in a very kind-hearted yet sweet manner. But this is all too good for you, Cancer ascendant. Now, we finally will have Jupiter going into Aries from May 10th, and that will be Mars and Aries with Jupiter then into June. Now, Jupiter loves to be in Aries. Jupiter is a fire sign rulership because it rules Sagittarius, and Aries is also a fire sign. So Jupiter really is enthusiastic and very zestful in the sign of Aries. And again, this will be from May 10th and then meeting up with Mars in its own zesty Mars in June. What does this mean for you, Cancer rising? Well, although there is a bit of a square aspect between Cancer ascendant and Jupiter in Aries, this is very positive for you because this now is directly Cancer ascendant in your 10th house of career. You are going to feel so outgoing because we're talking fire sign here with Jupiter about all your career goals and ambitions, certain ideas creatively, business-wise that you've put on the back burner. You're going to feel right now you've got the zest and the wherewithal to really take off on some of those aims and goals, and your enthusiasm about all business ideas and creativity is going to be very catchy. People are going to listen to what you have to say because you are just so positive about the future. Very positive time now, and this is a time that you may feel like you are in the position of some kind of authority. Perhaps this is a kind of time for a promotion, or your business or independent venture is going to take off the ground with all kinds of many different opportunities because Jupiter is the planet of expansion. Great year for you, 2002, Cancer rising, for your image and your ambitions. Boy, so many opportunities your way. Now, we've got our second retrograde phase, and that is May 10th to June 3rd. That's Mercury retrograde in Gemini to Taurus. Now, this is going to be May 10th, June 3rd, Mercury retrograde in Gemini first, and that will be in your natal 12th house. And then it will flip back to Taurus. Now, Mercury, once it's in either Gemini or it is in Virgo, where it is most elevated, is most important because Mercury rules both of these signs. Now, when we have it retrograde in your 12th house, that's about introspection, it's about soul searching, and it is about inspiration and to some degree creativity. It is the house of Pisces, and it is extremely important. So right now you may feel frustrated with certain emotional issues that are going on at this time in your life that you feel like you have to take care of. They are of some importance to you. Just be careful because we're talking Gemini retrograde Mercury and then into Taurus. Just be careful that there are no petty or trauma drama disagreements at this time because of that Mercury retrograde aspect in your 12th house. And of course, as all Mercury retrograde phases right now, Cancer rising, don't sign any contracts. Now, once we've got Mercury flipping back into your 11th house, what again is 11th house indicative of? It is rulership of friendships, groups, organizations, what you hold very near and dear to you, your friends. So, as always, with Mercury retrograde, there are bound to be, at the very least, delays or frustrations connected with these issues. Friends, hopes, dreams, all forms of communication regarding your goals. So if you can just hold off and not sign anything at this time, that will benefit you greatly. But it's a great time, as always, with every retrograde phase to do retrospection, retrograde in these areas of mention. The 12th house and the 11th house. And who knows, with the friendship sector, you may have a friend or loved one that returns to your life that you haven't seen in some time. Now, we've got June 4th, we've got Saturn going retrograde, and that will be in your 8th house. As always, 8th house, Cancer rising is about depth, intimacy, wills, trust, the occult, spirituality, your philosophy, kind of like the 9th house, but we're talking real deep soul searching here. Now, Saturn there, you may feel somewhat like the 12th house. You may feel like there's a lot of emotional issues you've got to deal with right now. And with Saturn retrograde there, Saturn is the planet of karma, and it is the planet of structure. So you may feel like you have to shoulder a lot of responsibility. Who knows? Maybe you might have to deal with a will or a trust now, or some legal measures dealing with such. Maybe there's an issue in your life where you feel like you want to get some kind of counseling, and you feel like right now, if you don't deal with certain emotional issues and take responsibility for such, Saturn, that certain issues in your life will not resolve itself. But at the end of the day, even karmic Saturn, no matter what house placement it is in, is a lesson teacher in our lives. And in this case, do take care of any kind of depth emotional issues that are on your plate, and you will come out very good in the long run. That's Saturn. Now, we've got June 28th, we've got Neptune. Notorious Neptune, sweet, compassionate Neptune retrograde. So Neptune at its negative, can be rather deceptive. It can be confusing at the very least, and sometimes we're not really sure what to do or which way to go in our life. And with Neptune retrograde starting on June 28th, 2022, and in your ninth house, there may be some confusion signing contracts. Like, you may be thinking now, well, should I get this house right now, or should I sign that contract or have certain negotiations, because I really don't understand the fine print. And these are going to be certain types of issues that will befall you, so to speak, with Neptune there. So right now, I would not say during the Neptune, somewhat like the Mercury retrograde phase, and it's in your ninth house of contracts, Cancer rising, or dealing with anything, dealing with long distance. It's not really a good time to sign those contracts. Just wait until Neptune goes direct. Now, we've got Jupiter, the planet of expansion, retrograde, and that will be for 4 months from July 28th to November 23rd, and that will be retrograde in Aries. And so there's going to be what? Now, Cancer rising, delays and frustrations with career, although Jupiter is still pretty good in your 10th house overall. It's just that you may feel like maybe some of those creative ideas that you have with business associates may not be getting off the ground. Maybe they don't seem to get some of your Cancer rising brilliance right now, Cancer rising, or there may be other frustrations. Maybe you've been looking for a better job or work. Maybe you've been wanting to get that promotion and you feel just a bit stymied at this time during that 4-month time frame from July 28th to November 23rd. But do have faith, because Jupiter eventually is going to go direct again, and nonetheless you still will have an abundance of Jupiter in the 10th house career opportunities. Now, late May to mid-June, we've got Venus with Taurus. Oh, that's very sweet, Cancer rising. This is a great time to reflect on all your near and dear friendships. Do button up some of those hopes and wishes and goals. Again, when we talk 11th house, we're talking Aquarius, so it's very creative. And the overall theme for you this year, Cancer rising, looks rather creative. And so even with Venus with Taurus there, kind of like the 10th house, the Pisces effect, you're going to feel like right now some of your goals and ambitions and talks with people is very productive, because Venus kind of sweetens the pot there, and Venus rules Taurus. So it's a great time for money, Taurus, Venus negotiations with your friends. Just don't go overboard with Venus and Taurus in your 11th house, spending too much money with those friends and the like groups and organizations, because Venus with Taurus is one of finance. So if you keep spending at a limit and you have wonderful discussions with those closest to you, friends and organizations, it's going to be a very rewarding time for you creatively. Now, we've got Mars in Taurus with Uranus, and as Venus will be with Uranus as well, but Mars, remember, Cancer rising is the aggressor. And with Mars, with Uranus, there may be sometimes certain sudden upsetments with some of your friends or those closest to you, and especially once Venus, and in this case Mars, the planet of the unexpected will clash with Saturn in Aquarius at one point this year. So always with Mars and Uranus, expect the unexpected. So if you feel like your creativity is not accepted, or there's disagreements with friends, or even, yes, social media, Cancer rising, or any social outgoing, any kind of activities dealing with that, remember that this, somewhat like the retrograde phase, is rather temporary, and that will be Mars and Taurus with Uranus in August 2022. Now, we will have, for our third Mercury retrograde phase, we will have Mercury retrograde in September, from the 9th of September to October 2nd, and that will respectively go from Libra to Virgo, and that will go from your fourth house. And the fourth house, Cancer rising, rules what? It rules family, it rules your actual abode, your house. And it can also deal sometimes with real estate. So with Mercury now retrograde September 9th to October 2nd, you may find that there are some issues with family. And sometimes this can indicate someone from your past, hello, retrograde, connected with your family, may want to retrograde acquaint with you. So sometimes it's not always bad. In certain cases, with anything retrograde, especially with the communicator Mercury retrograde, there can be connections with the past. So that's not always dealing with delays or frustrations, but sometimes there's just issues that you have to resolve from the past, or if someone reappears. Now, in the fourth house, this is about family. So this actually could be a good thing for you, Cancer rising, even with Mercury in Libra. Now, could be, however, yes, there could be frustrations with real estate or real estate contracts, or dealing with renovations or repairs on an actual physical property, whether it be your personal home or an investment property or what have you. So again, as aforementioned, thank goodness retrograde Mercury is brief. Now, when Mercury goes retrograde into Virgo, which will be your Scorpio, I'm sorry. All right, so we've got it going into Virgo. Whoop, looking at the Scorpio there for a second. They kind of resemble each other now, don't they? Once it goes back into your third house, let's get this correct. It's going to be about communication, and because Mercury is most elevated into the sign of Virgo, it's going to be much more sensitive. Now, with Mercury in its own most elevated in Virgo, in your third house, by the way, Cancer rising, you will have to watch some of your communications and some of your connections with those in your vicinity, because the third house rules neighbors. It also rules the community of where you live. So there could be some communications that are a bit of a delay or frustrating with those that are in and around you, close by in your vicinity. Third house also rules mechanical issues also with this retrograde phase. Do be careful of any automobile that you want to purchase at this time. And as always, do not sign on the line with Mercury retrograde. So it could also mean that you are looking into repairing any kind of an automobile that you have right now as well, but it's a great time. Even with Mercury retrograde in your third house with Virgo, it's a great time to write down your ideas, since you may kind of revisit some of those goals, or perhaps you are looking into creating a blog. So Mercury retrograde is about reflection in your third house, that is Cancer rising. Now we've got the Sun in Libra. We've got Mars in Gemini. And we've got Saturn in Aquarius, and that will make a beautiful and blessed grand air trine. And this will affect you, Cancer rising, from the month of October. Pretty much all of the month. Now, with the Sun there, that will be in your natal fourth house of what? Family. Once more, that family fourth house connection. And then you've got Mars, the planet of action, in your 12th house, and that's of what? That is of reflection, depth. Also, you may think about some kind of medical procedures right now. Great time for counseling, introspection. Then we've got Saturn, the planet of responsibility and karma, and within in Aquarius, the planet of genius. We've got that in your natal or your solar 8th house. So that's also kind of like the 12th house Cancer rising. It's about depth. So with a grand air trine, well, first of all, Cancer rising, air, they are communicators, whether it be Gemini, Aquarius, or Libra. They are social, they are outgoing, and they are very detached. Air signs generally don't get emotional. However, there are always exceptions depending on your personal birth chart. But right now, you're going to feel very good, Cancer rising. You're going to feel very social in these areas, connected with family, introspection, and depth, and emotional issues, or in some cases, certain contracts. Wow, it's a great time, as aforementioned, and again seems to be a theme for you, Cancer rising. You're going to feel so outgoing and creative. What a creative, inspirational year for you. And with the fourth house connection, who knows, maybe you may think about having very detached discussions regarding a business. And with the connection with your 8th house, maybe you will have a really deep as never before communicative connection with those about your state of mind and your psychology, intimacy. And with the 12th house, hey, even if you have to do some soul searching, this is going to be very beneficial. But like I aforementioned, it's a great time for medical procedures with the 12th house. Now, we have Mars retrograde, and that goes retrograde on October 30th, 2022, Cancer rising in the sign of Gemini. So basically pretty much for the month of October. And Mars there retrograde. Well, it may not affect communications like Mercury retrograde, but it will affect your actions. And so, like, for example, the 12th house rules the mind, and doing some serious soul searching and thinking, as well as with maybe surgeries or some medical procedures, and that can also be esoteric as well. Right now, say you may have some frustrations connected with your health or 12th house issues. Maybe right now you feel a little frustrated, emotional with Mars there. You just want everything to move forward, but you may feel held back. But Hey, Cancer rising, just like Mercury retrograde, this is rather temporary. And there's going to be, as with all planets retrograde, there is going to be the positive here and possibly somehow some kind of emotional connection with someone regarding your past. Also, the 12th house is about secrets. So you may be rather ambitious right now, Cancer rising, to really dig deep and find out reasons from the past or find out some unknown 12th house information that has been kept from you. So who knows what this time with Mars in the 12th house will bring, but it will be at the end of the day, Cancer rising, rather positive. Now we've got Saturn and Neptune, yay, which finally go direct in October. Saturn respectively in Aquarius and in your 8th house. And then we've got Neptune going direct respectively in your 9th house. So if there's been any contract negotiations, there has been any long distance issues, then right now everything will suddenly clear up. And in your 8th house, wow, some of that soul searching, some of those thoughts about the unknown, similar to the 12th house, or issues regarding legal matters with big money or wills and trusts will suddenly clear up now, and you will feel no longer delayed or held back. Now, we've got end of October of 2022, Jupiter will go back into Pisces, and then it will go back into Aries, your 10th house, on December 20th. So this is only a 2-month retrograde Jupiter retrograde phase. So now, what does Jupiter or anything retrograde means? It means to reflect, to revert back to the past. So when you've got the end of October with Jupiter going back into Pisces for the brief time for 2 months, yes, there's going to be reflection on all 9th house matters. Maybe there was a trip that you were going to take and you will have to hold off at that particular time. Now it could mean that there could be snags with long distance travel, because Jupiter also is about expansion and travel, and this type theme. Could be that there is a delay with an education effort. Perhaps you will have to put it off to some other time, but it's only a brief 2-month time frame. But Jupiter nonetheless likes to be in Pisces, as it does Aries, so you will feel nonetheless, Cancer rising, very inspired at this time with all higher knowledge and issues connected with contracts and foreign anything. Just take a little break. Now, then Jupiter will be going back into zesty Aries in your career zone on December 20th to close up the year 2022. You're going to be back in the saddle again, Cancer rising, and your enthusiasm for all your goals and aims will be the best for you, as well as so many Jupiter opportunities. And Jupiter in Aries is very independent, so this is a year that independent ventures are going to be the top of your list, and that's very, very positive. Now, we then have another highlight this year. As was earlier, the Grand Air Trine, we have another highlight with Venus in Scorpio. And yes, this is Scorpio this time, Cancer rising, and it's in your 5th house. And the 5th house is, wow, it is the house of Leo, and we're back at that creative theme this year, Cancer rising. But the fifth house is actually literally about creating. And maybe you're getting involved with arts or crafts or the fine or performing arts. Maybe you've been looking into taking up art or taking up a particular instrument. This is the time for expression for you. And when we have Venus and Scorpio making a trine with Neptune, during November of 2022, and also the sun will be there. This is an extremely spiritual, philosophical, creative, and inspiring time. Do take up that instrument. Do that creative artwork that you've put on the back burner, Cancer rising, because you will feel that right now, especially since this makes a grand water trine to you and your rising sign, Cancer rising, wow, people are going to feel actually personally inspired by you, because this does affect your rising sign. So it's not just a trine between Venus and Scorpio and Neptune in your case, it's a grand trine. So you're going to feel like, wow, you can really just be so compassionate. You feel so giving, and people you're going to feel are going to want to turn for you for all kinds of compassion and help, sympathy. And not only that, you're going to feel at this time during November 2022 that you're kind of like a leader because of your compassion and your sweet nature. People will want to not only turn to you, but you're going to be rather popular, creative, popular. There could be some very good news for you in November connected with pregnancies or with children, even grandchildren. And who knows, you might want to change or up your appearance since it affects your rising sign, Cancer. And with your ninth house and possibly cusp of your 10th house, you are just going to want to sign on the line right now, Cancer rising. People can't get enough of you. So that's another highlight for 2022. And finally, we've got Venus in Sagittarius in your natal 6th house. That is of work. And 6th house, yes, does rule pets. And with Venus there, this may be a time that you want to get that new doggy that you were thinking about at the shelter or helping out with animals. It's a great time to connect in a positive, sensitive, yet charming Venus and Sagittarius with your coworkers. Maybe you're going to make friends from some of those people that you are employed with. Great time, especially Venus, Cancer rising, to ask for a raise or look for a job that will suit you well and your very busy career this year. And however, we do have to finalize. Venus is going to be in Sagittarius, yes, and overall it will be positive. However, we've got that Mars in Gemini as aforementioned, and that will square the little bit of the confusing nature of Neptune in Pisces. Now that will make a T-square, Venus in Sagittarius, Mars in Gemini, and Neptune in Pisces. So although it is great for these matters with work, employment, pets, even health matters, and doing some retrospection, maybe surgeries, health issues, and so on, and dealing with anything with long distance, education, learning, there's also going to be confusion in these areas. You may not be sure which way to go about that job, although with Venus there, it still rather sweetens the pot. And even though you want to do some retrospection, you're not sure which way to go with important decisions in your life. And with the ninth house aspect, you're not sure if you want to sign on the line or if you want to do some long distance travel. So be very clear about your goals and your aims in these houses, of which there is this mutable T-square in the mutable signs of Sagittarius, Pisces, and Gemini. But nonetheless, the planets in those houses can reflect some positive energy. Now, to close, Cancer rising, this is to mention time and time again through this year. It is probably one of the best, if not the best years for you for expressing your creativity, because you've got the 10th house as well as Pisces influence with you, and that makes a beautiful trine. It is about responsibility this year because of Saturn's presence in Aquarius and in your 8th house and affecting your 7th house of partnerships. So partnerships, many goals and opportunities are going to be prominent this year, and that can include signing contracts or doing a lot regarding your objectives and your career aims, as you will be so busy with many of those Jupiter opportunities. A lot is connected with your 12th house this year. So you're going to be doing some soul searching, taking some time for downtime. And towards the end of the year, it is still regarding that theme of creativity and love, especially with the 7th house aspects earlier in 2022. But do keep in mind those retrograde phases. Don't sign on the line. But hey, what a memorable time for you, Cancer rising. And hey, it doesn't hurt while you're popular and well sought after while you're focusing on those goals. If you'd like to get in touch with me, my contact information is down below. I give one-on-one readings and written reports. Please subscribe to this channel and press the bell notification. Until next time, many blessings.